Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cooking on Amanda. I'm Amanda, your friendly neighborhood Pampered Chef independent consultant, coming to you today on this sweet Saturday. I'm going to be making a decadent dessert recipe today, the S'mores Millionaire bars. I'll be honest, I saw this pop up on my social media the other day and decided that I needed to try it today. So the husband is still out of town, unfortunately, on Saturday morning working, but we're going to give this a try, and I'm sure it will cheer me up. So I'm just going to warn you in advance, this is going to be a multi-video demonstration just because of the cooling and the cooking time in between the different steps. There are quite a few steps. They are pretty easy, though, so, I mean, you can take your time and follow through them, and it should be pretty easy to get through it. There are just a couple steps, so just to warn you ahead of time. But I've gone ahead and made up this recipe card. I know it's difficult to see from back there. I've listed the link in the party that I'll be posting this in, but if you would like this recipe, like I said, I did get it on delish.com, so I'm sure if you just Google S'mores Millionaire bars, you'll be able to find that, but if not, you can comment below and I can get that for you. This little thing here says, show me the bars, the play on the Jerry Maguire movies, which is showing my age, although I was really young when that came out. But I will bring this closer later so that you can see the ingredients written out, but, you know, I have them back here that I printed off of the internet in order to help me follow through the recipe. But this is what we'll be looking towards achieving today. Although this was made in a regular just loaf pan. And what I would recommend using as your loaf pan is our new Pampered Chef Stone Fusion loaf pan, which is available currently. I ordered mine. I'm waiting on it to come, so I'm excited to have that as part of my line of stoneware. The only loaf pan I actually have, other than the mini ones I'll be using today, is a really old, cheap, thin metal one that I bought at a discount store when I first moved out years and years ago. So kind of upgrading that for myself, so I'm excited to replace that one and donate that, pass that on to someone who can use it, and, allow myself to upgrade that. But, so like I said, I will show you the pan we're using. It's a little different than the regular loaf pan. I am still using a Pampered Chef stone, but it is the mini loaf stone bar pan, which is no longer available. Pampered Chef does have a mini loaf pan, which is more like the mini brownie pan, in that it's metal, nonstick. It's currently unavailable, but that is an option. But really any loaf pan would work. Any shape pan, actually, is just going to alter the way in which you're serving this. But really, you're just going for a layered effect. So anything you can line with parchment, I think would work. But so we're going for something kind of like this. So I'm going to move this out of the way and then we'll get going. I'll bring it forward at the end so that way you can see. But again, I will make that recipe available for you if you're unable to find it. So let me just pop this back here for the time being. And then let me show you our stone first. And then we'll get into what ingredients we're using. So I already have this lined with parchment paper. And I wanted to share with you, I found these at the grocery store. For this application, I did have to cut them, which is one of the things in the box. It said no cutting required, which if you were using this on a sheet pan, you would not have to cut it. But they are just pop-up parchment sheets, which I thought were pretty cool. Now, on the stoneware, you're not generally going to need to use parchment to keep anything from sticking. But if you were using a non-stoneware item or somewhere where you needed parchment, I thought these were pretty neat. But they did make pretty easy work of lining these pans as well. I just snipped off the edges and I saved those for later. Yeah, so those were pretty cool. So keep an eye out for those in your section at the grocery store. So I'll put those away. But like I said, so I've already lined each one of these. This makes 4 mini loaves. And this is one of our classic stones that we no longer carry, but I've had it for quite a long time. I generally wouldn't line this. I don't think well, I know at least for the stone we're not lining for non-stick. It's going to be for ease of removal so that we can slice it and serve it properly. So we've just lined those with parchment. So I'm going to set that back here. The normal recipe, like I said, does call for 9x5 loaf pan. So if you were doing that, you would just still do the same and line that with your parchment. So what I'm going to do, like I said, this is going to take 4 separate layers. And so we'll probably have at least 4 videos showing putting these together. So I'll run through the ingredients per layer. We're going to make this first layer in this first section of the video. And then we'll move on from there. So let me run through the ingredients that we're going to need, the items that we'll be using, and then we'll jump right into it. So for our first layer, and that's going to be our shortcake base layer, we're going to need 1/2 stick of butter. And altogether for this recipe, you're going to need 2 full sticks of butter softened. So that's what I have here. But for this particular layer, and I'll go ahead and start adding these items because the first layer we need to make is our shortbread layer. So we'll add our 1 stick of softened butter. So I let those actually set out overnight to get really nice and soft. There's no worries in doing that as far as spoilage is concerned. Butter generally stays okay out covered in a dish for about a week. I normally don't leave it out that long, but you could. So the next thing we'll need for our shortbread layer, and also we'll need this for our marshmallow layer, is our confectionery sugar. So in order to measure this, for this layer, I'm going to use my adjustable tablespoon. So this is a Pampered Chef adjustable tablespoon. You simply would just slide this black adjustable piece in order to change your measure. So for the shortcake layer, we need 3 tablespoons of our confectionery sugar. So because this is that much, I'm just going to scoop it and kind of level it off with my finger and place that into my mixer. Now I'm using a stand mixer. You certainly could use a handheld mixer. That would work just as well. The exact same way. So whatever you have on hand. It does call for an electric mixer, so I think this is going to get a little difficult. So probably hand mixing might be challenging. Certainly can give it a try. I mean, it would work. Okay, so then we're going to add a teaspoon of our vanilla extract, and this is still for that shortcake layer. So again, using our adjustable, this time teaspoon, which same thing, you would just slide this black piece here in order to adjust your measure. So we just need 1 teaspoon of our vanilla extract for that. We're going to use 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. I wanted to show you what I'll be using for that, and that is our measure-all. So this is a measuring cup specifically designed to measure both liquid and solid ingredients. I'm going to show you why I like it for our solid application. It'll really show itself off when we start to work with the marshmallow cream, which can be awful to work with and or to get out of a measuring cup. So, but for this application, at least the way my mom always taught me, is to fill up your flour. So I already have this to 1.5 cups measured, and so what I'm going to do is fill it up to just overflowing, and then use, and I have this on paper towels so I can save the flour, but level it off. And then with this measure-all, what you're going to do to get the flour will obviously just pour out, but if you had ingredients, let's say this were sour cream or mayonnaise or something like that, all you would simply do is just press on the bottom here, and that's going to push all of your ingredients out. And so all that you would need to do is just simply scrape off that edge. But let me reserve this flour, otherwise my mother would be very unhappy. Okay, and then we'll set our flour back here because we are done with that. So the next item we need for the shortbread layer is going to be our graham cracker crumbs, and we are going to need a 1/4 cup of that plus some for garnish. So I'm going to adjust my measure here, and the way you adjust it for your solid, which is the red. So the red is your solid measure. You can see it pushes up to this arrow. The blue is going to be your liquid measure, which has a pour spout here, and then that cup on the inside for your ingredients. But still with solids here, so I'm going to measure to a 1/4 cup. Now I am cheating because I didn't have any graham crackers, and I wanted to get in and out of the grocery store as quickly as possible. So they had these in the baking aisle. So I got pre-crumbled graham cracker crumbs. Of course, obviously, could crush up, there's probably like less than a whole cracker. But so that's just a 1/4 cup of graham cracker crumbs. And then I'm going to keep these out because we will need those for the very end for a garnish. So I'll just set those over here. But those are a time saver. That's a great tip. I don't have kiddos, so I don't have graham crackers around. But obviously, if you do, you probably do have some graham crackers. We also are going to need a 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust my measuring spoon, and we'll measure that in. So I'll run through the rest of the ingredients real quick, and then while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and let this mix. So what we want to do is just let that beat until combined. So I'm going to start it off on low speed so you can still hear me while I run through the rest of the ingredients. So that was our shortbread layer. So that's going to go in first and bake. And so we're going to do that step and then take a little break. Then the other 3 layers, we have a caramel layer, a marshmallow layer, and then a chocolate layer. So I know it sounds like a lot, but again, they're not really complicated. Not a lot of more ingredients. As you can see here, this is all we need. But for the caramel layer, we're going to need one 11-ounce package of caramel squares. So I prepped ahead last night and unwrapped all of those. So unwrapped. It doesn't say that on the recipe, but obviously you don't want the plastic. So I had that in my large silicone prep bowl overnight, kept those nice and fresh. So we have the 11-ounce package of caramel squares. We're going to need a 1/4 cup of heavy cream, which I'm going to measure in my, you can use the same measure. I'll use the liquid side. So we need a 1/4 cup of that. That's still in the fridge. We'll need the marshmallow layer, which is our other half of a cup or 1 stick of butter, which is softened. And then we're going to need also 3/4 of a cup of marshmallow cream or fluff. Then we will need another bit of our powdered sugar. This time we'll need a 1/4 cup, and we can measure that with our measure-all. And then we'll need another pinch of our salt for that. And then the final layer is just a cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips, and then 2 more tablespoons of butter, which can just be cold. So now actually it looks like that came together on that low speed. So we're gonna clean off our scraper here, and I know we're gonna need my mixer again for our marshmallow layer. So just keep this out here. Set that aside. We need to give that a wash. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of clean off my board here. I got a little bit of excess flour that, don't tell my mom, escaped the paper towel. So just clean that off real quick, and then we're going to get these babies going in the oven. I think I failed to mention I had the oven preheated to 350. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my board forward. Let me give my hands a quick wash before I press this in here. And I apologize. Hey, got my sink back here behind a laptop. So be up close and personal while I wash my hands. Okay, I'm just touching the trash can and all that stuff. So I'm also going to take off my rings, set them over here so I don't lose them like I did last night. I had a heart attack. Okay, so let me make my way back over here. Excuse me, I apologize. Here, set up. Okay, so good to go. So now we've got our dough, and you can see it came together, and that's what you want. A shortbread, is a really crumbly, it's a dry cookie. So you're definitely not looking for like a wet batter. You want it just like this. This is perfect. You want it holds its shape, which is going to be perfect for when we press it into the bottom. So if you're making it as recipe calls, it's 1 loaf pan, super easy. Pour it all in, press it down. So I'm just going to try to go ahead here and divvy this up into as equal as I can 4 pieces here. So I'm going to start with 1 handful here of each. And I got a little bit left over, so we will see where we need that. But with this parchment, I'm just trying to press this in to the corners. That way, definitely need more in that first one. We'll get a nice defined bottom, especially because the next layer is a caramel layer. So this is going to help then to really establish that nice base for you. So I am not going to keep you here watching me press all 4 of these in. If I had my large stone, we would already be done. So that looks like that took up, that's all my crust there. So, but we're going to keep going here. So I am going to let you go at this point. What we are going to do, like I said, I already have my oven preheated to 350. So these are going to be popped in there just as is. We're going to bake off the shortbread base. And then once that is fully baked, which that's going to take roughly 20 minutes, then we're going to let those cool completely. So at that point, I will come back to you. We are going to, if you were making this at home while these were cooking, you could go ahead and move forward with the recipe, obviously. But for my television limitations, don't yet have my Food Network cooking staff with the pre-finished example here of this dough. So you definitely could keep this recipe going if you were making it, obviously not for a video demonstration, and be done with it in a lot less time than I will be today. But anyway, so actually I was able to get those all done because I talked so much. But we got them all pushed in the bottom. We're going to get those in the oven for about 20 minutes or until they're nice and golden brown and you can feel them and they feel set. But those turned out great. So let them go in the oven, let them cool completely, and I will see you back. Take care.